let's dive into the top 24 quarterbacks, rankings, and tiers for 2025 fantasy football. As you can see at the top, not really a little bit of a contention point between Lamar Jackson versus Josh Allen. Who should be the top dog? I know you can't go wrong with either, but you can be a little bit more right. I do lean Lamar Jackson coming off the most fantasy points of all time among fantasy quarterbacks. Just a crazy season. I know Josh Allen, he's got 3 top 10 all-time seasons across his last 3 seasons in a row. So you know between these two, you're getting those unicorns, the Konami points where you got incredible rushing ability, lots of rushing touchdowns, and then insane passing scores as well. Great arms for both these guys. You don't need me to spell that out for you, but which one should you go? I do lean Lamar Jackson. I understand that his passing touchdown could come down quite a bit. His red zone touchdown rate was right around 50% last year, when his historic average is around 22% red zone passing touchdowns. So maybe that does regress closer to his career average, to the average of regular quarterbacks as well. Or maybe that is just how good this Todd Monken offense is. There's so many outs too. What if this defense takes a step back? What if Derrick Henry gets hurt? To me, there's just so many scenarios where we see Lamar Jackson somehow even hit another form, whereas Josh Allen, we know what we're going to get. It's going to be amazing. I just slightly lean into Lamar Jackson. I think the ceiling is a little bit higher, but you know you can't go wrong with either of those guys. I did have Jaden Daniels up in that tier for a lot of this offseason, but between the Terry McLaurin drama, I just can't put him up there quite there. I think there's about a round or so value difference, whereas you're going Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. You got to have to invest in the late second. I don't know if I love that opportunity cost, but ultimately you're looking in the second round for those two. Jaden Daniels is more of a third round target, and sometimes in best ball often falls into the fourth round as well. So I do think there's a little bit of a tier gap now, and I actually lump him more in with the Jalen Hurts, who also has that Konami upside. Could be any given year right there with Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. We know he's likely to lead quarterbacks in rushing touchdowns this year, an absolute beast. And then Joe Burrow, who I hear a lot of people say, oh, well, he doesn't have the leg points like these other, again, these unicorn quarterbacks between the top 4. They have the leg points. They have the passing as well. Burrow doesn't have those leg points, but what he does have is a horrendous defense, a cannon arm, and I think he has a real shot to approach that Peyton Manning kind of 5,000-yard, 40 to 50 touchdown, just insane season this year. Scott Barrett has a great stat about him in losses and how he averaged nearly 30 points per game, and I could see them chasing points quite often this year. The defense might only get worse if they do, in fact, trade Hendrickson over there. So I think he absolutely deserves a spot. A lot of people argue, oh, no, he should be going a round or two after these guys. I think Joe Burrow is right there. And I love his best ball price right now when he falls into the 60s. No brainer. So those at minimum, your top 5 quarterbacks. And if you've watched any other ranking show, you've seen any other ranking set, you've probably seen, and mine are aligned with this. You can see here, I've got a tier now where these are the 5 elite quarterback ones. You can't go wrong with it. Then I get into tier 3, and I've got 6 through 16 in the same tier here. And yes, of course, I have them ranked, so there are guys I prefer to others. But that is to say, this is a massive quarterback tier. My overall strategy when I get here, who's going the latest? I kind of back to my roots of a wait on QB purist. I do still love, of course, the Konami edge and building around those guys. But ultimately, when you get from 6 to 16, I'd be okay with any of these guys as my number 1 quarterback. So let's talk about a few of the guys who I'm higher on, lower on, but we'll just read off the tier for the audio listeners as well. Number 6 is Baker Mayfield. Number 7, Bo Nix. Drake Maye comes in at number 8. Number 9, Jared Goff. Number 10, Dak Prescott. 11, Patrick Mahomes. You guys can see it's minus 5 ECR for me. He's the one that I am getting the least by far of this tier. Brock Purdy comes in at 12, Herbert at 13, 14, Jordan Love, 15, Kyler Murray, and 16, Justin Fields, who has fallen quite a bit since preseason week 2 began. So Baker Mayfield at the top, a crazy season. Liam Cohen does depart. That is a little concern for me. There is a bit of touchdown regression that could happen here, but I still love the guy. I mean, you look at this weapons cabinet. It is insane to have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin on the men, sure. Jalen McMillan really showed well the end of last year. And then you add Ibuka, who's looking like the next superstar at the position. I see no reason for a massive drop-off. I think Baker Mayfield deserves that 6th spot with Josh Gizzard coming over the passing game coordinator, now the OC. Hopefully there's not a ton of drop-off there. It sounds like they're taking even more deep shots now in this offense. Bo Nix, I really could see a Drew Brees-like season. He worked out with Drew Brees a lot throughout the offseason. And Brees very complimentary of his cerebral nature, the way he picked his brain. He said his arm talent was great, loved working with him, but the way he wanted to approach the game and learn how did I mentally prepare for game days, for practices. Drew Brees couldn't have spoke more glowingly about Bo Nix. So the Sean Payton offense, he's got his perfect quarterback. I could definitely see this team tearing it up this year. Drake Maye, as you can see, +8 ECR. So he is definitely the guy I'm highest on. If you've seen my guide, you know at this point, Drake Maye is that kind of Konami guy. It was Jaden Daniels for me. Last year, the must draft around 9-10 quarterback, that's going to be Drake Maye. Maybe it's the Patriots homerism in me, but I just think he is due for a massive season. When you see those leaps from like a low-end quarterback one to, oh my God, he's elite and going crazy, it is the combination of a cannon arm and the leg points. Drake Maye, his ceiling comp was often Josh Allen coming out of college. And so I've seen enough. I went to practice, and the way he was slinging it around looked amazing. I know there's been a few ups and downs in the preseason action so far, but I love Josh McDaniels coming back here. I love the line upgrades. Sure, they need some more beef. I get it. But weapons upgrades as well. Everything has gone up. And in his full games last year, he averaged over 18 fantasy points per game, would have been a top 12 quarterback in his points per game for his full starts, and everything around him has improved. So Drake Maye, of everybody in this tier, is the one I often am getting because he goes towards the bottom of it, and I have him ranked towards the top of this tier. So I love Drake Maye. Not much to say about Jared Goff other than he's the engineer of the league's most explosive passing attack. High floor, some weekly ceilings where they are in shootouts, and maybe this defense takes a step back. You've seen it. When they faced Buffalo last year, he went absolutely bananas. There are some home road splits that are a little concerning with Goff, though, too. So he can be a little bit more boom or bust. You know they love to run the ball 40 times if they get that big lead, too. So like Jared Goff, I might even like and put Dak Prescott above him. He's been rising up the rankings. I've seen this narrative about the defense, especially if Micah Parsons isn't there, taking a step back, and this maybe being the NFC Bengals, and Dak Prescott just chucking. I mean, 2 seasons ago, led the NFL in passing yards, passing touchdowns. It's not – we've seen it. We've seen the guy be the quarterback one before. And so I have no problem with Dak Prescott in my top 10. In fact, I probably prefer him to Jared Goff and a little bit safer than Drake Maye. So I think he's just going to keep climbing up these rankings, a guy I'm trying to get more and more of in these last few best ball drafts of the season. But as you can see, Pat Mahomes down here at 11. I don't know the exact stats off the top of my head, but they're in the draft guide where I list him as a bust, a guy I am not targeting. It's one of those things where across the last 2 seasons, I do know this. He has fewer 20-plus point days across his 2 seasons combined than Bo Nix had as a rookie last year in one single season. Everybody thinks Pat Mahomes, those high-flying Chiefs. It just hasn't been the case the past 2 seasons. And the defense is still really strong. The weapons, especially if you lose Rashee Rice, you already got Hollywood Brown banged up again. I just think Pat Mahomes, nobody has more screen yards or check down yards across the last 2 seasons than Pat Mahomes. I believe he's better. Jared Goff is the next closest, and Mahomes has like well over 1,000 more than him. So he's kind of become this check down merchant. Maybe the Chiefs regain their mojo, and I look like a fool for this because we have seen it, of course. I mean, in 2018, when we first started this thing, Pat Mahomes was our poster boy. We said he's the sleeper quarterback of the year, and he made us look like geniuses. This is a different Chiefs team, different weapons, different style of offense. Just is way more boring than I think people give him credit for when it comes to fantasy. Brock Purdy, though, 49ers, I just love Kyle Shanahan. It's always a sure bet to be one of the most efficient attacks. And whether it's Brandon Ayuk's out for 6 weeks, doesn't matter. Juwan Jennings steps in. Juwan Jennings hurt. Ricky Pearsall will be the engine. Really doesn't matter who the main guy is. It's always going to be a feast. And then you got Justin Herbert now talking about I might want to get a little more Josh Allen to my game. He's got, if you look at all his measurables, more athletic ability in terms of just testing. Of course, on the field, how it plays out, Josh Allen's a monster. I'm not trying to discredit him. But Justin Herbert had a faster 40, better vertical, better agility testing. He just doesn't use those legs much. But this year, he says, I really want to. We know that's a staple of the Greg Roman offense. So maybe a little Konami Justin Herbert. Love him. Jordan Love, quarterback 5. Just 2 seasons ago, has an injury last year. Weapons are all around him getting hurt. I could see a huge rebound from Jordan Love in this Packers passing game. So quarterback 14, yeah, what's funny about this tier is like I had Jordan Love maybe a month ago at quarterback 10, and I just kind of it's back and forth. And how's camp progressing? How are things looking? It's whoever's the cheapest for me. Now I am clearly lower on Kyler Murray. I just think the guy stinks. I know he's solid enough for fantasy because he gets those rushing points, but is so tentative to the rushing. And there's been quotes about how the team he wouldn't run when he wanted. The team wanted him to, and he said himself, I'm going to plan to run more this year, use those legs to my advantage. I'll believe it when I see it. Still, though, you can't deny that he has a very high weekly fantasy season. I just think this run game is dominant in the passing coordinator. Drew Petzing, don't love this offense at all. Makes life tough for Marvin Harrison, makes life tough for Kyler Murray. Don't love it. And then you can see Justin Fields also a bit lower on ECR on him. 1 for 5 in the preseason, backing up all the reports we've seen about him going, 2 for 10 on the day, 1 for 6 in team drills. All the accuracy concerns are very real right now. And the way the ball was coming off his hand, I've always liked Justin Fields as a fantasy quarterback. I always knew the accuracy woes, but at least it looked like he could throw it when needed. The way he looked in the preseason, the ball was looping down. It looked hideous. And so I am worried. The one thing I liked about Fields landing with the Jets is how could they bench the guy? Who else do they have? I don't know. If he looks this bad for multiple games, I could see them turning to Tyrod Taylor. You're there for the leg points. He does have the single season or single game record for most rushing yards. He's got a 1,000-yard rushing season on his resume. So I get why there could be fantasy goodness, but I think there's going to be a ton of those days where he has 3 fantasy points, 2 interceptions, completes only 5 passes, and maybe he gets you 6 fantasy points on the ground, but it's just ultimately so hideous. And so I think he's going to be 2 boom or bust. I have him a lot lower now in my rankings. Now, somebody I actually did mean after watching last night, Caleb Williams is going to get a bump up these rankings. I have him at 17 minus 2 ECR here. He belongs in this tier, so let's call it a tier of 17 quarterbacks. I should have bumped this up before the show. I think he'll slide in just ahead of Fields for me, under Kyler Murray, maybe ahead of Kyler Murray, though. Ben Johnson's attack looked phenomenal. How many yards and points did they end up racking up last night? 600 yards, something crazy. And a lot of it was on the ground. I get it, but it just looked so efficient. The line was protecting him. He looked comfortable. Colson Loveland looks like a stud. Burden looks like a stud. In addition to, you have Odunze maybe taking the next step. DJ Moore, of course, is a beast. The weapons, the line upgrades, the play calling upgrades, all those things that I love for Drake Maye are even better for Caleb Williams. He just doesn't have quite the rushing upside. So Williams does belong in this tier. So that's a mistake on my rankings. I will be correcting. You can find them at rotostreetjournal.com or in the link of the description as well. I want to go through the top 24 on the Sleeper Show. I talked about loving J.J. McCarthy, thinking he is an absolute slam dunk sleeper pick this year. Would love to have him as my quarterback too at any point heading in to the year. But my other quarterback sleeper I really like, it's on an article at rotostreetjournal.com, also, of course, in the guide, is Trevor Lawrence. Liam Cohen, who helped squeeze that top 4 season out of Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield had never been a top 15 quarterback across his career in fantasy. Then he's the quarterback 4. Yes, of course, I do think Baker's better. I like Baker as a player a lot more than Trevor Lawrence. But there are already quotes about wanting to use his legs more, just like Baker, who set career highs in rushing touchdowns, rushing yards last year with Liam Cohen. He said, we want to get Trevor Lawrence using those legs more, getting those layup first downs. You got Brian Thomas, you got Travis Hunter. I'm a very big fan of Trevor Lawrence. And Tua is a very intriguing one. He falls, nobody wants him in best ball right now. And just 2 seasons ago, he's the quarterback 7 in fantasy points per game. But last year was hideous. He got hurt, and then the whole offense crumbled. The line looks atrocious. So I understand that. What Dolphins team are we going to get? If it's even in the middle, Tua's going to be a steal at this price. If it is last year's hideous line, everything looks awful, then yeah, I get Tua probably won't pay off a top 20 quarterback price. Even then, though, I think we're all closing the door on Mike McDaniels. I think he's a nerd. I understand he's annoying with the shenanigans on the sideline. I think the guy can call a very good offense. It was just 2 years ago. They were in the top 3 in points and total yards. Maybe we get close to that level again, and Tua just ends up looking like one of the steals of the draft. If you wanted to go to a more exciting unknown in Michael Penix, I wouldn't blame you. He's got a cannon arm himself. But the weapons there, what is it? Drake London and then Kyle Pitts. Are we really going to do that again? Darnell Mooney looked good, but he's banged up. And then what he can do in terms of Penix, but got a top 10 line. I do like the McVay-inspired scheme. I think Penix could have himself a nice year. Rounding out the top 24 quarterbacks, you can see Stroud and then a teardrop. He looked very comfortable, though, in this new McVay-inspired scheme. 6 for 8 in the preseason, 44 and a touchdown. You got Nico Collins. You got Christian Kirk. You got 2 exciting rookies out of Iowa State there in Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel. So I really think this offense could take another step forward. And Stroud looked comfortable there. Matter is that shoulder okay? That drop off from the rookie season to this past year was pretty stark. And as you can see, I am a bit lower than ECR on him, so I don't really draft Stroud much. But could I see the end of the season and be like, oh yeah, the Texans really rebounded and Stroud looked much closer to rookie year form? Yeah, absolutely. I just made the same argument for Tua, just the 2023 versus 2024 data. So I understand that. And then, so this is kind of, again, the drop off of like 6 to 16 are all fine quarterback ones, in my opinion. Even Fields with those accuracy woes, as much as he worries me. And I'd add 17 Caleb Williams into there. This tier 4 was the 18 JJ McCarthy, 19 Trevor Lawrence, 22 21 Michael Penix, and 22 CJ Stroud. That is my quarterback 2 tier. And I bet you see a lot of these guys just not even get drafted in your redraft leagues. You know how it goes. That's why I also love drafting elite quarterbacks, because you don't have to have that roster spot burned on one of these. But I did say last year, even if you have a good quarterback, take James Daniels anyways. I think Drake Maye is kind of that guy for me this year as well. But and then you get to these like more questionable quarterback 2s. But I do see upside to Bryce Young. Was the quarterback 6 from week 12 on last year. Really seemed to click. Now you add Ted McMillan to this mix and give him some real legitimate weapons. I like Dave Canales, the play caller. I could see a nice season from him. And Geno, always underrated. And now playing with Chip Kelly, a fast-paced offense, will be a ton of plays. Will be a high-volume run game, there's no doubt. But you got Genty looking like an absolute stud. Brock Bowers, the best tight end in the league. Jacoby's a solid weapon out there. And then Dante Thornton's looking really good. They add Jack Besh as well earlier in the draft. So a lot to like about him. So that wraps up the top 24. You can kind of see this tier here where Cam Ward is 25. Very intrigued by the rookie. I know he's been up or down, but he had a 30-yard drop by Van Jefferson. Trash. I really think Cam Ward has shown, like, I belong here. I am an NFL quarterback. And then it becomes, like, truly after him. I probably even should put Stafford and Darnold on a tier below, only because, one, well, Stafford, what's going on with his back? He's like going into the chamber, and I don't even want to know what's happening in there. Sam Darnold, Jalen Milroe looks really good, so he could be breathing down his neck all year. And then you got the Jackson Darts, the Richardsons, like when they start, the Daniel Jones even. They're going to be good in their games when they start, but it's just going to be up or down. Who is in this week? Who's out that week? So for best ball, especially, those guys worry me. I don't really see much reason to be drafting them in redraft anyways. What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments, check out some more videos, and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.